We're continuing our introduction to Python by looking at mathematical operators and functions. So just a reminder, we are working through Python workbooks in Google Colab. And so you can access these through drstephpowers.github.io/BIA. We're working in the appendix where it says Intro to Python. If you did the previous video, then you're probably already in the right spot. So go to Intro to Python, and then once it opens in GitHub, what you want to do is you want to open in Colab, and then make sure when you open in Colab that you log in to your Google Drive so that you can run the code. And also it'll ask you to save a copy so that you can amend the code. So make sure you're doing that. And we're right here in the second section here called mathematical operators. So we want to be able to do some math in Python. So we need to know the basic formulas for these math calculations. So for example, if you want to add, then we want to do plus. So we could do 2 plus 4 or x plus y. And so we add a little plus symbol there. For subtraction, it's simply the minus sign next to the 0 on your keyboard. And so you could do 4 minus 2 or x minus y. For multiplication, you want the star that's on the 8 button on your keyboard, Control 8. And then for division, it's the slash mark, which is on the lower right of your keyboard. And then perhaps you want to do like x squared. So to do x squared, we typically write that with a caret, the little triangle looking thing. But to do that actual calculation in Python, we want to do 2 stars for the exponentation versus 1 star, which is multiplication. And then we might be wanting to do what's called floor division. Floor division is where you are looking at the number of times a number goes into another. So if you want to do, for example, 20 divided by 5, you would put 20 / 5, and what you would get is you would get 4. Okay. Now, if you want to have the remainder, so let's say you did 22 divided by 5, 22 divided by 5 goes in 4 times, so 22 / 5 gives you 4, but you have numbers left over. So this is what's called a modulus, the remainder from division. And to find that number that's left over, you would do the percentage symbol. So here, if we wanted to find out what's left over, 22, and then we do the percentage symbol, and then 5, we would get that there's 2 left over. So let's give that a try in Python. So can you do some of these calculations? So take a moment and see if you can't do 2 plus 4, 2 times 5, 10 divided by 2, 10 minus 7, and then figure out how many times that 3 goes into 10 and how much is left over after 10 divided by 3. So take a moment, pause the video, and see if you can't do these calculations in Python. All right. So I assume you've already done them in Python. You could simply just put in 2 plus 4, and it will output 6. We can also give this a name. You can call this x equals 2 plus 4. And then nothing is outputted. And so you would have to say, okay, well then tell me what x is. And then we would run that. And then it would tell you that it's 6. So you could do it either way, depending on whether or not you want to call it or whether you're simply using Python as a calculator. We can do 2 times 5. To do 2 times 5, remember that we're going to use the star that is on the 8 button on your keyboard. And you do 2 times 5, and then we find out that x is 10. We can do 10 divided by 2. So when you do 10 divided by 2, we get 5. And if we do 11 divided by 2, we get 5.5. So that's the full division. But if you want to break this up into the whole number and then the remainder, then you're looking at how many times 2 goes into 11 and how much is left over after 11 divided by 2. So to do that, we would do we would go back to our symbols list here, right? Floor division is 2 slash marks. Modulus is the percentage. So we could do 11 / 2, and we should get 5, okay? Because 2 goes into 11 5 times. And then if we want to do how much is left over, we get that there's 1 left over. So 11 divided by 2 is 5, plus that gets you to 10, and then to get to 11, that's 1 more. So let's finish off here. 10 minus 7. To do 10 minus 7, right, we just simply do 10 minus 7. And we get 3. To find out how many times 3 goes into 10, what symbol do we use? We do 10 / 3. We should get 3, right? 3, 6, 9. And then if we want to figure out, we can add a line of code here, how much is left over when we have 3 going into 10. We do 10 and then percentage sign and then 3. And we run that. And we get that there's 1 left over, right? 3, 6, 9. So 3 goes into 10 3 times. And then we have 1 left over, 9 to 10. So keep handy your list: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. We can have exponentation. So we're going to be looking at like x squared. And then you may want to be able to separate out with your division how many times it goes into the number and then what's left over. We will use these operators when we create functions. So a function defines a variable, a calculation, and then we provide a list of inputs. So what you see here on the right is that we have code to define loan payments. So we want it to calculate how much the loan payments are, and we need to provide a list of inputs. So the inputs are going to be the present value, so how much is the loan, I, that's the interest, and then N is going to be the number of payments. So we're going to perform a calculation or a command. Whenever you create a function, you always need to specify what is that you're defining, what is the inputs, provide the calculation, and then you also need to tell it what to return, what to output. So here it's going to return how much the monthly payments are. Okay. All right. So if we were to do this in Python, we go in. So N is our number of months, I is our annual interest rate, present value is the month of the loan. Here we have our formula. To create that, we define our function. We're going to call it loan payment. It's going to start with us providing the present value, the value of the loan, the interest rate on the annual interest, and then N, the number of months. So the payment calculation is going to be present value times, so that's our star for times, interest divided by 12. So we take the annual interest rate and we divide it by 12 months to find out how much interest per month. And then we put all of that in parentheses because we want that calculated together. And then we divide by, and then we put what's on the bottom of the formula. So we're putting it all into parentheses, so it's done together. We have 1 minus, and then in parentheses, 1 divided by, and then in parentheses, 1 plus. We have I divided by 12, and then you see that star star. That's because this is an exponential notation here. This is to the n. So what you see here, this to the n here, that's this star star n. And it returns the payment. So we create this function. And what this allows us to do is say, okay, well, if I get a loan for $25,000, the interest rate is 6%, so 0.06, and I'm going to pay for it over 48 months, so probably a car loan, then it can output the loan payment. I'm going to have to pay $587 every time I make my monthly payment. We could then change the amount of the loan. So let's say it's $10,000 instead. Let's say the interest rate is 3. Maybe it's only a loan for 12 months. And then I can call that, and I can see here now the payments are $847. So you can tweak it. What if the interest rate goes up? So it's not 3%, but 5%. You can see how it changes. Now it's $856. What if I want, instead of 10,000, 15,000? Now I can see the payment is $1284. What if I pay for it over not 12 months, but 24 months? We can then see how the payment changes. So the benefit of a function is that we can build the calculation, we can specify the information, the variables in the formula, have it return whatever we want it to come out, and then that means we can change the inputs and see how it changes the output. All right, take a moment, see if you can create a function to convert Celsius to Fahrenheit. So the formula to convert Celsius to Fahrenheit is equal to Celsius times 9/5 plus 32, right? Because freezing for Fahrenheit is at 32 and at Celsius it's 0. So let's create the function and then let's find out what is minus 40 Celsius and what is 15 Celsius. So take a moment, pause the video, and see if you can't create this function. All right, so we're going to define, and you can call it whatever you want, Fahrenheit. Be careful, there are some things in Python that already have meaning, and so, giving a fraction of a word rather than just a letter is on the safer side because sometimes those letters are already spoken for. So we're going to define Fahrenheit. In order to calculate Fahrenheit, the only input we already need is Celsius. There is going to be a colon. So if we look at here, how do you define? We have our define, we have the name, we have parentheses with whatever's the input, and then we have a colon. Then we have our calculation, then we tell it what to return. So let's go back, and we have that F is equal to C times, right, star, and then 9 divided by 5. And we have our order of operations here. We do the multiplication before the addition. So just to make sure that it is doing it in the order we want, we can put our extra little parentheses there to make sure the multiplication happens first. And then have it return what we'll call F. Okay. All right, so let's do that. We enter that in. Now what we can do is we can say, okay, let's call that function far and give me minus 40. Minus 40 Celsius is minus 40 Fahrenheit. What if I want to know what is 15 Celsius in Fahrenheit? I do far, I type in 15, and 15 Celsius is 59 degrees Fahrenheit.